The single most important thing to know about Rainmaker in Splatoon 2 is that the German translation of the game refers to it as Operation Goldfish. This fact should make you very happy. Oh, you want me to talk about how to play it? Sure. Let's start with the easy stuff. This is the Rainmaker. It's very shiny. You may recognize it from the final boss of Octo Canyon, where you jump off a rail and dunk it on DJ Octavio like you're playing NBA 2K. If you think about the Rainmaker like the flag in a capture the flag game mode, you're not too far off. You get it from the middle, you run it into your opponent's base, and if you can get it all the way up this pedestal, you win. If no one can manage that, the game goes to whoever got it furthest after time runs out. I can't pick this up yet. I'm hurting myself by trying. I have to shoot the shield so it turns my color, and after a lot of paint it blows up. That explosion is very scary. Look at how big it is. It practically leaves a crater in the center of the map and wherever else it goes off. At higher levels, it's even a strat to intentionally lose the Rainmaker in the middle of your opponent's base just so you can blow it up again and use that as a weapon. If you're trying to get anywhere near it to paint it, you'd better be able to win the tug of war or it's not going to end well. Bombs. Use them. Lethal bombs, not burst bombs. Something that's actually going to splat when it blows up. If you're not running a lot of these on a team, that's likely a problem. They do a disproportionate amount of damage to the shield very quickly. Cool, you popped the Rainmaker. Time to pick it up. Just kidding. You don't want to pick it up unless it's safe, or you'll just get splatted right away and put your team at a numbers disadvantage. Sometimes a single player can make a hero play and score the points their team needs to win, but most of the time that takes a mistake on the part of the opposing team. And your best bet is to push with the rest of your team. Okay, so I splatted a couple opponents and my teammates are glaring at the rest of them threateningly. Can I pick it up yet? Hold on a second. You have a special. If you pick up the Rainmaker, you will never get to make use of that special charge. The Rainmaker prevents you from using sub-weapons or specials, and picking it up ends one of two ways. You either win the game by KO, or you get splatted. What if I don't get splatted? You get splatted. So if you can help it, you definitely want to use that special while you still can. That explosion is almost as big as the Rainmaker shield explosion, by the way. Stay away from a teammate whose time is up, or you're going down with them. People don't run out of time very often, though. The Rainmaker isn't very fast and doesn't paint for itself quickly, so it's easy to catch up to. If you plan on being the Rainmaker carrier on your team, you might consider swim speed gear, or maybe run speed on maps with lots of unpaintable ground. You should also experiment with the Rainmaker in recon mode and learn when it might be useful to fire half-charged shots. They're less useful in combat since they don't one-shot an opponent unless they've already taken significant damage, but they're faster for painting up walls, including the Rainmaker pedestal, and time is everything in this mode. If your teammate picked it up instead of you, don't get too far ahead of them and get caught out of position. Very common mistake, but keep an eye on where they are and paint the path right in front of them so they don't have to stop and they can just swim the whole way forward. It saves time, and again, a little bit of time gets you a lot of points in this game mode. If the other team has the Rainmaker and they have an advantage, try to slow the Rainmaker down. Paint where it's trying to go if you can reach, and throw those lethal bombs in front of it. They're not just for popping the shield. The Rainmaker isn't trying to wander into your explosions, although it's nice when they do. Which means that if you place it right, even if you don't splat anyone, you can force the Rainmaker to wait until the fuse time is up and they've repainted the area turned your color by the bomb. Slowing the Rainmaker down, even when you're at a disadvantage, is really important, because if the Rainmaker just gets to move freely, the game can end in 10 seconds. Generally, aim to have at least one person between the Rainmaker and the goal at all times, no matter how many of you went down or how far away the Rainmaker is from your base. Make sure you know every way you can take the Rainmaker and practice the movement you need to get there, so if the defense shifts and leaves that way open, you can get in there and score points fast before they respawn. Most maps have one route that's safer for longer extended pushes, where your team has less of an advantage, and another route to take when you're on a fast break with a numbers advantage. For example, this route is faster, but there are usually scary people standing up there shooting you, so this way is more common unless a team gets some quick splats and is already in position to capitalize. The Rainmaker is pretty dangerous when it does fire a shot, as that entire sphere at the end of it deals lethal damage to anyone even touching the outer edge of it. If you aim it right at your feet, anyone on top of you gets splatted. It can also be fired up and over obstacles, like a very slow version of the Explosher. But if they play their cards right and they get in range of you, a lot of the time they should probably splat you before you can fire a shot. Don't be in front when your team engages the enemy. Shoot from further back and try to flush their players out of hiding so your team can deal with them at an advantage. If you're not the carrier and someone else is already painting in front of the Rainmaker, you're now a full-time bodyguard. The player painting ahead may need some help because they'll encounter the front line of the enemy defense first, but a lot of the time, the best choice can actually be to have a player stay behind the Rainmaker or off to the side. That way, you have someone in between your vulnerable teammate and a flanker who's trying to get a cheesy pick by running out alone at a weird angle to catch them off guard. Learn to time your specials at the exact moment they're needed to get through a tough choke point. If you try to activate them reactively, a lot of the time they'll go off too late, so knowing where you're likely to run into trouble on the maps is important. It's a combination of knowing where it's easy to defend and knowing where your opponents happen to be right this second. If you know that, and you can attack those positions proactively, you can just sweep through the enemy base like a wave and knock the game out faster than in any other game mode, no matter how much ground you've given up, no matter how many splats anyone got in the time leading up to that moment. That's what makes this mode so volatile. It's not safe until you KO. If your team gets wiped twice in one Rainmaker possession, the other team should theoretically win the game, maybe even just after one wipe if the Rainmaker is already in scoring position. Keep your eye on who has the numbers advantage using the UI at the top of the screen routinely, as often as a driver checks their mirrors, because you don't want to get blindsided by a team that decided to push in force after splatting all your teammates. If you have a big lead in Rainmaker, it could be smarter to stall than to push for a KO. You win the game when time runs out unless something goes wrong, so instead of taking the risk of pushing into the enemy base with one player holding a really heavy fish, a great way for something to go wrong, you might be better off running the clock. Some maps have places where you can run to and play keep away with the Rainmaker for a while. Even if they don't, it's a good idea to move the Rainmaker somewhere the opponents don't want to push from. Get it to a side where they don't have easy access to your base, or a spot it's hard for them to push into. Don't just not push though. If you just leave the Rainmaker unpopped on your side of the map, as soon as your team loses a fight, you lose the game. Here's a little flowchart for what to do if you just stopped an enemy push. If it's close to the end of the game and you're losing, you'll need to pick it up as soon as it's safe to and do your best. But if it's too close to the end of the game and you're winning, don't even pop the shield. If you just keep the shield your color without popping it, they can't grab it and the game will just end. If you're winning, you pick up the Rainmaker and you get splatted in the last 15 seconds of the game, the other team gets a guaranteed overtime. So most of the time, just don't pick it up as the winning team in the last 15 seconds. Keep it in the shield and take the free win instead. Now, let's say it's not close to the end of the game. If you're at a big disadvantage near your base and the Rainmaker is popped in front of you, grab it and jump off the edge of the map. You'd have gotten splatted anyway if you tried to defend, and this way, instead of splatting you and then winning the game, now you're splatted but they have to go all the way back to mid, pop the Rainmaker, and restart the push now that your teammates have time to respawn and get in their way. Even if you don't manage to get all the way off the map, you're still stalling for time, because they have to spend the time splatting you and popping the shield again, and even that much stalling might just save you the game. If you have enough of an advantage to defend the Rainmaker but it's really deep in your base, pop it and don't pick it up. In that state, it'll disappear after 15 seconds of not being picked up and teleport to mid with a new shield around it. This gives your team time to paint forward and get control of mid, so that when the Rainmaker ends up back there, you have specials and you're ready to play the neutral game again. Picking it up and pushing it is riskier, because if the carrier gets splatted, now the other team has a numbers advantage, and the Rainmaker is close to your base, and since they have a numbers advantage, they'll probably win the pop and get a big explosion of paint in your base. Just zone them out and let it reset. If you're winning and you get advantage near mid or even further into the enemy base, still pick up the Rainmaker and start a push, if for no other reason than to make them start their push from further back. If the Rainmaker is on your side of the map and your team wipes, they win. But if the Rainmaker is on their side of the map when you wipe, they don't have time to win before you respawn and have a chance to stop them. Let's talk about some specific weapon choices and tactics and how they tend to work in Rainmaker. You're less likely to see a long-range weapon like a Hydra or an E-Leader in Rainmaker than in any other mode. There are less mobile weapons that have more trouble with flankers that sneak up on them. They're not as good at moving quickly to be where the action is and positioning for maximum impact right in front of where the Rainmaker is swimming. By the same principle, short-ranged weapons really shine in this mode. A Ninja Squid roller, for example, is a bigger threat in this mode than maybe anywhere else, as the ability to move unseen and quickly one-shot an opponent makes them a potential threat to the Rainmaker carrier even in a 1v4 situation.
And then sure enough, a lot of the time there is a roller there and you just lose the Rainmaker and then someone has to come back and pop the Rainmaker and you lose all your setup and all that.
Ballers and bubbles can be helpful protection for the Rainmaker, and they can also be a surface for the enemy to explode lethal bombs off, letting them splat the Rainmaker even faster. Tent umbrella shields are a bit better for getting through tight spaces because it's easier to tell when you're on the safe side of the shield and it's harder for the enemy team to cross you up. Armor can be nice, but the Rainmaker player won't get it, and they lose armor as soon as they pick it up. Missiles can't stop a push unless someone on your team is already blocking the Rainmaker from pushing. If you're in a 1v4 and you missile the other team, they're just going to run forward and the missiles will fall behind them and make a funny fart sound because of how little they did for you. That said, if the other team is blocked by teammates playing good defense, they're more likely to be bunched up around the Rainmaker carrier, and missiling them then can be devastating. Stingrays can be a huge threat against the Rainmaker, since the Ray user can always see the position they need to aim at from a distance. But Stingrays are also situational, because you either need to use them from very far back or jump back to spawn and use them from there, and that takes you out of the fight at what could be a crucial moment. In recent patches, the Booyah Bomb has in some cases replaced the Stingray as the GG special of choice, a special that the winning team plays extra safe to stay alive and save in the last 45 seconds of the game, so they can stop the opponent's last push without counterplay. If you're looking for more theory from a high-level competitive standpoint, you're mandated by a law I just wrote to go watch FLC's primer on the subject. He's a smart squid, and we can all learn a lot from him. For more content like this, like and subscribe. Do it. I'm the teacher, I said so. And also check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/squid_school, for weekly VOD reviews with our viewers. You can even get some private coaching from me on there if you'd like.